Frank Beard spent more than 5 decades behind the drums of ZZ Top, helping create one of the most recognizable sounds in American rock music. Now, at 77, the legendary drummer is gone. Frank Beard died on August 17, 2026, at his ranch in Richmond, Texas, while receiving hospice care, with members of his family by his side. But there is one important detail that should be made clear immediately. His specific cause of death has not been publicly disclosed. Reports confirm that Beard had been dealing with health problems and had recently stepped away from ZZ Top's touring schedule, but no official cause has been released. And that uncertainty makes the story of his final months even more striking. Because Frank Beard was not simply the drummer sitting behind Billy Gibbons and Dusty Hill. He was the heartbeat of ZZ Top. And for a band built around blues, groove, attitude, and Texas swagger, that heartbeat was everything. Born Frank Lee Beard on June 11, 1949, in Frankstown, Texas, Beard started playing drums while still young. Long before ZZ Top became an international sensation, he was already moving through the Texas music scene, playing in groups that included the Cellar Dwellers, the Hustlers, the Warlocks, and American Blues. One of the most important connections from those early years was Dusty Hill. Beard and Hill had already developed a musical relationship before ZZ Top became the band the world knew. Eventually, Beard helped connect Hill with guitarist Billy Gibbons. That meeting would change rock history. ZZ Top came together in the late 1960s, with Beard joining shortly after the group's formation. From there, the three musicians built something remarkably difficult to copy, a sound that was instantly recognizable even before the singer's voice or guitar riff fully arrived. Billy Gibbons brought the guitar, Dusty Hill brought the bass, and Frank Beard brought the groove that locked everything together. For decades, the joke surrounding Beard was almost impossible to avoid. His name was Beard. Yet he was the one member of ZZ Top who famously did not wear the enormous beard. But behind that joke was a musician who was far more important than the visual identity of the band. Listen closely to ZZ Top, and the reason becomes obvious. The drumming was rarely about showing off. It was about control. Beard understood that sometimes the most powerful drummer is the one who knows exactly when not to overplay. That approach became part of ZZ Top's identity. Songs such as Grange, Tush, Gimme All Your Lovin, Sharp Dressed Man, and Legs became permanent parts of classic rock culture. ZZ Top eventually released 15 studio albums and sold more than 50 million records worldwide. The band was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2004. But the band's success also created a strange misconception about Beard. Because Gibbons and Hill were so visually distinctive, Beard could sometimes appear to be the quiet member in the background. In reality, his consistency was one of ZZ Top's greatest strengths. He remained with the group for roughly 56 years. Think about that. Most bands do not survive that long with the same lineup. ZZ Top did. And Beard remained behind that drum kit through enormous changes in popular music. From the late 1960s through the 1970s blues rock explosion, the MTV era of the 1980s, the grunge years, the digital revolution, and into the streaming age. The world around ZZ Top changed repeatedly. The band kept going. Then came the loss of Dusty Hill in 2021. Hill's passing changed ZZ Top forever. But Beard continued. The classic trio was already reduced to 2 original members, with Elwood Francis eventually taking Hill's place on bass at Hill's request. Beard remained the last original rhythm section link alongside Gibbons. That made his health struggles particularly significant. In March 2025, Beard temporarily stepped away from touring because of a health issue. Reports later identified foot and ankle problems as part of what had forced him to take time away. He had also experienced a serious medical interruption years earlier, undergoing an emergency appendectomy in 2002. But in 2026, concerns surrounding his health became much more serious. ZZ Top had been performing during its The Big One tour when Beard's condition once again forced changes. The band cancelled its August 5 Hollywood Bowl performance, initially citing personnel-related circumstances. Later reports connected the cancellation to Beard's health. Then came another development. Beard entered hospice care at his Texas ranch. And on August 17th, surrounded by family, Frank Beard died. He was 77. There is no responsible way to fill in the blanks about his cause of death. At the time of reporting, the cause remains undisclosed. What is known is that his health had deteriorated enough to require hospice care, and that his condition had already affected his ability to tour. That distinction matters. When a famous musician dies suddenly, speculation can spread almost instantly. But Frank Beard's family and representatives have not publicly provided a specific medical explanation, so the story should remain with what is confirmed. And what is confirmed is already powerful enough. Frank Beard spent his life doing something remarkably difficult, remaining part of the same musical machine for more than half a century. He was there when ZZ Top was still a Texas club band. He was there when Grange became a classic. He was there when Eliminator transformed the group's image and introduced ZZ Top to an entirely new generation. He was there when MTV turned the band into visual icons. He was there when the music industry changed from vinyl to cassette, cassette to CD, CD to downloads and downloads to streaming. And he was still there when ZZ Top was touring in 2026. That is not simply longevity. That is commitment. Billy Gibbons has described Beard as a great friend and collaborator and praised him as one of the world's naturally innovative drummers, calling him a true son of Texas. Gibbons also indicated that ZZ Top would continue performing, honoring Beard's wishes. But continuing without Frank Beard will inevitably feel different. For fans, his passing represents more than the loss of another legendary drummer. It marks another chapter closing in the history of classic rock. Dusty Hill was already gone. Now Frank Beard is gone too. And that leaves Billy Gibbons as the only surviving member of ZZ Top's legendary classic lineup. Yet perhaps the most fitting tribute to Beard is not silence. It is the music. Turn on La Grange, and the groove is still there. Play Tush, and that unmistakable rhythm still moves the song forward. Put on Sharp-Dressed Man, and the drums still sound as confident as they did decades ago. That is the strange power of recorded music. The musician can leave. The performance remains. Frank Beard's final days were spent away from the stage, at home in Texas, surrounded by family. But his life's work remains on stages, radios, playlists, and record collections around the world. For 56 years, Frank Beard helped keep ZZ Top on top. He never needed the spotlight to prove his importance. He simply kept the beat. And sometimes, the musician holding everything together is the one people only fully appreciate when the rhythm suddenly stops. Frank Beard was 77. His specific cause of death has not been disclosed, but his legacy is already clear. He was not merely the drummer of ZZ Top. He was the steady pulse behind one of rock's most enduring bands. And that beat will continue to be heard for generations.